Hi, I'm Chuck. Welcome to Core Strength and Conditioning. You notice my t-shirt says Core Strength Training, but for obvious reasons, strength and conditioning doesn't look so great on a t-shirt. So anyway, welcome to the gym. When Christina and I decided that we wanted to put a little training business in our townhouse, we had quite a bit of work to do to make it feel like a legitimate training business. So the first thing we did was put rubber flooring throughout our whole basement. And it's about a 700 square foot basement. So quite a few horse stall mats. I cut many of them individually so they'd fit in the room just right. And that was the first step we took. Then I went away to coach at a summer camp, and while I was gone, she had a fella come in and drywall the entire ceiling and put recessed lighting in. And that really made it feel like it was better lit down here. We also put in a sump pump just in case, because you never know when you're going to get some water in a basement. So we painted the walls, put in mirrors, and really try to make this place feel like a gym. And I think if you come in here to train, you're going to be shocked. You walk in this little townhouse and see this place, and it doesn't feel like a basement anymore at all. It feels like a real personal training studio here. So my big purchase, the first thing that I wanted to put in the gym was the power rack. This is sort of the center of everything I do with most of my clients. It's a 3x3 modular rack with a lot of attachments, and I can do a whole lot with this rack. So first of all, let me just point out some sort of permanent fixtures to the rack. It has a multi-grip pull-up bar, which is you can do overhanded, underhanded, and parallel grip pull-ups at different widths. That's very nice. It has rear plate storage, which is super handy. You can just side load to squat on either side. You're not dragging plates all over the gym. So those are kind of the fixed components of the rack. I saved a little bit of money with these ticked markings on the rack rather than getting hole numbering, which, believe it or not, can be fairly expensive. So I use those ticked markers to line up the various attachments. Now, I have a bunch of these attachments on here. You couldn't use this rack the way it's configured right now too well. They're just on here to show you the different options I have for folks. So let's run through a few of them. The first one here I'll point out, because it's a bit of a monstrosity, is my landmine. And landmines have a bunch of traditional uses that you're probably familiar with. Some attachments help. I mean, you can just grab the landmine, you can just grab the bar by the end and press with the landmine. But pressing is always nicer if you have one of these Viking press attachments. I have a rowing handle. You can do rows with the landmine. Those are the typical things people use a landmine for. But I wanted a belt squatting option for some of my clients who aren't able to back squat because of the compressive and shearing forces of having a barbell on their back. But I didn't want to pay a ton of money for a belt squat. So the company I bought my rack from, Williams Strength, makes a little landmine belt squat attachment where if you have a set of blocks, these are 12 inches high, you can just strap in and use your landmine as a belt squat. And it works pretty well. The loading is vertical. It's not as fancy, obvious as a dedicated belt squat unit, but it's a nice option that gets the job done. So that's my landmine and some of its uses. This is a Sornex Bulldog pad that a client actually bought me as a parting gift when he built his own gym. He liked mine so much he built his own, but he bought me this. This Bulldog pad, you can change the angle of it for a whole bunch of different chest supported movements. You can do shoulder raises on this thing, leaning forward a little bit. You can drop it down and make the angle a little different so that you can row with it. It has the pendulum attachment. This is for rowing as well. Now, not the way I currently have it configured, but this is a super versatile piece of equipment. If you look this thing up online, there are probably 20 or 30 different uses for the Sornex Bulldog pad, and I've used a bunch of them. You can lean into it from behind and do curls. So just a very versatile little piece of equipment, pretty ingenious actually. I have a single leg roller back here that you can hardly see that is rack attached, so you can do some of your single leg work right here next to your rack. And I like to have folks include some single leg work for any of those, what do they call them, bilateral deficiencies they might have. But then of course the primary use of the rack is to squat. You can squat inside the rack with the safety straps, outside the rack with the, I don't even know what they're called. Yeah, the regular safety bars. I bought these monolift J cups just because I train alone a lot, and most people use a monolift, I think, to squat so that they don't have to walk their squats out. I don't mind walking my squats out, that's fine. But when I train alone and I'm trying to get bench presses out and they're kind of behind my head, then I press up and I'm always running into the bottom of the J cups, especially some of these larger J cups that stick out quite a bit. So I bought these monolift J cups, and when there's a bar in here, the little hockey stick offset kicks it out to here. I lift off and that drops back out of the way, and then I can press, and it only drops a few inches, but it's enough where I can press without having to worry about running into the bottom of the J cups. And of course I have the safeties so that if I miss a rep, I can just put it down and slide out. And some of my clients like these J cups as well, these monolift J cups. Moving on around the rack here a little bit, I have a beautiful dip attachment with a thick grip, and it's really comfortable. You know, if you're strapping some weight onto dip, there's a lot of pressure into your hands, so that thick handle really helps a lot. It's angled a bit so that you can go a little narrower or a little wider, and of course you can raise this thing up and down. The rack's modular with that 2-inch hole spacing. You can put this wherever you want to dip. This is a leg curl attachment, a standing leg curl for the rack that, again, William Strength makes this. And the way that works, if you can see anything here, you just kind of get in there like that and you can do your leg curls. Believe it or not, with a little finagling, this also can double as a leg extension. I probably can't get in here to show you right now, but you can do single leg extensions on here as well for a bit of accessory work, so that's kind of nice. I think I've covered just about everything with my rack. You'll see these plates on the back of it. I have all the Vonco plates throughout the gym. I think I have 16 of these 45s. They're pretty high-end plates. I like metal plates. I like that metal on metal sound. But these weigh out pretty darn accurately, and I have a bunch of them. Moving on over here, I train a fair number of husbands and wives, couples, and I'll put one person in the rack, and I'll use this Rogue squat stand for the other person. And it does many of the functions of the rack. These are also great if ceiling height is a problem in your gym. This one doesn't have a pull-up bar attachment or anything, so it'll fit comfortably under most ceilings. Incidentally, I did have to have my rack cut down a little bit to get it down here. My ceilings, I think, are 85 inches or something, and I had this cut down to 82, I believe, give or take a little bit. But I use this Rogue squat stand for the same functions I use the rack for. We squat and bench out of here. These safeties are quick change, move them up and down, and folks of different heights can squat and bench in safety, knowing they can put the bar down if they miss. So I have two benches, both made by Rep Fitness. I love these benches. I'm not trying to plug particular manufacturers, but it just comes up. This flat bench is lightweight with wheels. You can move it around really easily. And I sprung for the wide pad on it. I'm older now, obviously, and bench pressing takes a toll on your shoulders. So to just get that little bit of extra support on the shoulders has really helped me stay injury free for flat bench pressing. Same thing with the incline bench, and on this one I have this the clear coat stainless steel finish, which I think is really beautiful. But this has the wide pad as well, and both the back, and it's pretty easy adjustment. Both the back and the seat adjust on this incline bench, so it's really a comfortable incline bench to use. It's a little heavier, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it has the handle and wheels so you can move it around. Once you get it up, it's not too bad to move around. So, highly recommend those benches. Now, my lat pull down low row actually came as a combo with my squat rack, and believe it or not, there's a bridge piece where you can attach, if I had more room down here, I could attach the lat pull down low row to the squat rack and then have this extra piece where I could hang equipment from that piece, maybe do another pull-up bar or something like that. But it's stable on its own. This is a plate-loaded lat pull-down low row, and I don't have them out right now, but I also have a rope attachment and a V-bar attachment. You can do push downs, some tricep and bicep isolation things with this, but of course the main uses are pull downs and rows. And I'll show you, it's a very smooth operating unit, but the carriage actually rides up and down this center post. So I'm just gonna do a couple. I only have 100 pounds on here. This mag grip pull down attachment is very, very comfortable, sort of an ergonomic attachment for your grip. But you can see and hear that there's not very much friction, so it's a nice unit. Now, I did have to have it cut down a little bit to get it down here, so really tall lifters would have to lean back to use this a little bit. So if you're constructing a home gym or something, these are the sorts of practical things to think about. What size equipment can I fit under my ceilings? What kind of modifications am I gonna have to make to the space before I even start putting equipment in to make it usable? So consider all that stuff. Here's Bob. Hello, everyone. We punch him. I'm not really trained, but he's great cardio. I have a bunch of specialty bars, and I use them, clients use them. This is a Swiss bar, an angled Swiss bar. It's a little easier on the shoulders than a straight bar. It's also more tricep focused though. So don't expect, probably at least at first, to bench what you can bench on a straight bar with the Swiss bar, but it'll save your shoulders a little wear and tear. I have a fat grip bar. Don't use it as much, but that'll really challenge your grip, and it's super comfortable for pressing. But this bar itself weighs 80 pounds, so a complete beginner would struggle probably just to lift the bar. A couple other specialty bars. I'll point this one out because it can be handy. This is an entry-level bar for somebody who's just learning. I think this bar only weighs 15 pounds. So if you're not ready to lift a 45-pound bar, we have an option for you to start learning how to squat, bench, and deadlift. This cambered bar is useful for rows under a bench or something where you want a little extra clearance. So, and then these are the specialty bars that really get used the most. This is my safety squat bar. Pretty much everybody's been exposed to safety squats in one form or another at this point, but it's just a much more comfortable way for a lot of people to squat. You're not reaching back behind you to get to the bar. You could stay a little more upright with the safety squat bar. So it's a nice way to squat for a lot of people. And then for people who are really serious about straight bar squatting, this is an elephant squat bar. It's oversized, feels great on your back. It's like a 32 or 33 millimeter bar, and it weighs 55 pounds. So some really neat bar options, and we use them all. Moving on over here toward my deadlift platform, I have a full set of these road bumpers, and We don't use them a ton, but what these are nice for, somebody who's learning to deadlift, you want that bar set up at the correct height. Well, if you put 10 or 25 pound plates on there, the bar is going to be way too low. So we have these bumper plates that allow you, even at lower weights than a standard 45, to have the bar sitting at the correct height. So, and also, I'll ask most clients to load one pair of 45 pound bumpers on the inside, even if they're stronger, so that they don't beat up my platform. This is my deadlift platform. My logo is actually burnt into the platform. This was done by a guy named Nate Woods, who's local here in my neck of the woods in Pennsylvania. His company is called Executive Fit, I believe, and they're now shipping these platforms all over the country. But I love this deadlift platform. My floor's not completely even. Nate came into my house and helped me level the platform. So if you're in the, he makes these now. Mine's somewhat modular, but the ones he makes now are really modular. So if you want to transport it, you can take this platform apart, and he's further developed that now where they're even simpler to break down. So this I wanted to mention is another Rep Fitness product. This is their open trap bar, and this is a super nice trap bar. The deadlift jack is built right into this bar. So you just flip it up on its end like I have it, and you can load and unload your plates. It has both high and low handles. The high handles raise it up a couple of inches. So, and when you're ready to deadlift, you just kick this thing down either way. I can kick it down this direction. Now I have the low handles, and I'm ready to deadlift. Hopefully I'm in a decent deadlifting position. And then when I'm ready to change the weights, put another 45 on or whatever, kick it up onto the jack. If I want to use the high handles, I would just flip it over the other way. I think you get the idea, so I won't do that. And you can actually stand in this bar either direction. I always just step in from the back, but you can have this bar behind you. You can lift like this if you want to. The other thing I want to mention about this, with the round tubing, you can actually use this bar like a yoke for squatting. Now you'd want to take these handles off, and they're easy to take off. You can actually put that bar across your back. It's got center knurling, and you can squat with it and you can do yoke carries with it. So large camber bar squats, that's a pretty deep camber. Yoke walks, you can press this bar if you want. And if your ceilings are low, the way the weights are loaded, they're below the ceiling height. So this is a great bar. It's also not a cheap bar, so there's that. This is a specialty deadlift bar. This bar is a little longer, a little thinner than a regular bar. At weights maybe above 400 pounds or so, this bar has a little give, it has a little whip to it. So it's also nice for people who are learning how to hook grip. Because it's a little thinner, you can get more of your hand around this bar and get that thumb actually hooked. Super nice bar, a lot of my clients like to use it. What I like to do and advise people to do is use a regular power bar most of the time, and then switch over to this bar for a little surprise kick. You'll be slightly stronger with this bar and you'll be happier. So, but I wouldn't use it probably all the time. Moving on over, we have Christina's kettlebell area, and she's our resident kettlebell expert. Anybody who's interested, she can teach you how to do all the typical kettlebell movements. The kettlebell swing, the kettlebell snatch, Turkish get-ups. She's certified Strong First Level 2, so she's a highly capable kettlebell instructor. And I won't demonstrate my rudimentary technique, but she taught me how to use kettlebells. And I'm not that bad. I'm better than you might expect. But her kettlebells go from these little tiny 4 kilo bells, 8.8 pounds, all the way up to the, I think they call this one the Beast. It's 48 kilos, 106 pounds, I believe. This is my glute ham raise, an older Sornex piece. I'm not even sure how old this is now, but probably 15 years old. And they make fancier glute ham raises nowadays, but this gets the job done. So we use this thing obviously for glute ham raises and back extensions in the traditional manner where your feet are up against the foot plate. But you can also flip around backwards on this and do reverse hypers. And we've even figured out, one of the people I train figured out, hey, let's just put a band on there, loop it over once and put it over your feet, and you can add a little band tension to those reverse back raises. You can also add band tension to regular back raises as well. But great posterior chain exercise. You'll see them in football weight rooms a lot, so you know they work. And we're about wrapping up the tour here. Move back over, we've sort of come full circle all the way around the gym, and I'm back over to my dumbbell rack, which is right beside my power rack. Over the last year, my pet project has sort of been collecting a full set of these old York round head dumbbells. I think they're beautiful. They were made, most of them, between 1960 and 1980. Some of them I had to do a little restoration work on. Just you soak them in vinegar water, wire brush them, apply WD-40, and they start to get that patina back to them. But I love these. You know, probably a luxury because they're not cheap because they're older. But I have them from 5s all the way up to 70s. Now I do go at some point in 10-pound increments, 5-pound increments up through 50, and then I have the 60s and 70s. I'm shopping around for the 80s. I'm not going to replace these rubber-coated hex bells from 90s up to 120s. These are, at those heavier weights, these are just a little bit better for dropping. You drop one of these old Yorks, and you're gonna bend the handle. But all of these, the heads on them are tight, the handles are pretty straight, and just give the gym a little old school flavor. So I think that's it for the entire gym. I do have a full-time job in addition to the training I do, so I don't just train, I don't just churn a lot of clients. I'll kind of keep a few clients at any given time, but I have a young man who's going to be going away to college in August that's been with me for 2 years, and I'll probably look to replace his time slot. So if this looks like something you might be interested in, we're on the web, Instagram. I'm not very active on social media, but I do have the pages. But it's coresandc.com, CORESANDC.com. A little unwieldy, but everything else was taken. So do the best you can with that.
Pragmatics.
Yeah. Big thanks to Derek for filming me today. He's in town visiting and followed me around the gym. D, did I hit it all?
I think you hit it all.
All right.
I've been looking around to see if there's anything left over, and I think you're squared away, man.
All right. Thanks so much for watching the tour, and I hope you'll stop by and check us out.